Well, thank you everyone. I probably don't need a microphone, but I just like talking to them a little bit. But thank you everyone for, let's test the difference.
Oh. Yeah. I don't know, I like the echo.
No, microphone sounds really sexy, but I meant to say,
well, thank
really good. Turn down the mic and start singing something.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for coming to our session. I know you had a lot of sessions to choose from in this exact slot, so thank you everyone for coming to the room. Appreciate that. So I'm Shane Kleiner. I'm a solutions architect. Oh, by the way, our session is desktop virtualization. We're calling it a bake-off. We're actually going to spend a little bit of time kind of talking about a. That's weird when I go like that. Talk about it.
Don't go like that.
It's being recorded.
Was that on camera?
Yes.
YouTube it. It's on the YouTube at the ready.
And only this part. YouTube.
Gotta up my man card with it.
Too late.
You want to start from the beginning so we can restart the recording?
No, we're good. We just leave that.
We should be ashamed.
Just do the crowd dance now, man.
So yeah, so desktop virtualization, monitoring bake-off. So Jari and I did a session, we did a couple of bake-off type sessions, but it's a little, we kind of put a different spin on it. So we never like to compare two products side by side against each other. And there's already other folks out there that kind of do that. Project VRC's some of the folks out there that do that, and they kind of go feature by feature comparison. We like to take a different approach, and we look at more of a methodology when we do a bake-off. Because at the end of the day, you know, each vendor is telling you different shit, what's better than what, but it really matters what's in your environment. And when we go through the bake-off methodology, it'll make sense, right? And it doesn't matter if this solution has USB 3 if you don't need that support, right? And so we'll talk through all that. So I'm Shane Kleiner. Some of you guys probably know me, solutions architect in the Southeast region for Choice Solutions. I'm very privileged to be a CTP as well, and a Nutanix NTC.
Control expert.
Control expert. Are you guys making the?
Is that what we're calling it now?
Yeah.
You can.
All right.
Just in vain right now.
All right.
Jarian Gibson.
The first inaugural.
Yeah.
I'm Jarian Gibson, independent consultant. I'm out of Kansas City, along with Shane, a CCP as well, be expert in NTC, and what's the new thing you're calling?
Control expert.
Control expert as well. I guess our group's calling that. So happy to be here presenting again at ETE for the second time in the U.S. And we have a special guest speaker up here with us as well to help fill my shoes because I'm not doing too well right now.
Yeah, so first bake-off tip, don't eat the bakery pizza because he was throwing up for like an hour.
Seriously?
And I was on the toilet for like 45
Guys,
minutes.
this session
This session is like so X-rated.
Sorry, now we're starting.
So that's why my head was in my hands, Alex. Not because of the session, because I was trying to rally.
So session agenda, we're gonna talk. Obviously, it's weird looking. So anyway, we're gonna be doing an introduction, which we kind of already did already. We're gonna talk about our bake-off methodology and tips from the field. We're gonna look at Zen Desktop 7.6, kind of from a customer perspective and a EUC standpoint. What are some of the things that we saw as we're doing some testing and whatnot. Some of the field experience, and then Q&A at the end. We want this to be interactive, so definitely talk, raise your hand, whatever. So interject at any point in time, no problem. So what is the purpose of the bake-off? Well, that's a great question, right? What is the purpose of the point of a bake-off? When I think about it, is to determine which solution is going to be the best solution in my specific organization, right? And there's a lot of people that look at bake-offs differently. They'll just bake it off because they want to see which solution's cooler than the other one. And I think that's kind of a load of crap because it doesn't matter. Again, I'll say it again. I'll probably say it 15 times. It just drives me nuts when you look at the vendors like slinging all the. It's all marketing, right? At the end of the day, But it's what matters for that organization, And so why? I mean, let me ask someone in the audience a question. Maybe you guys could interject here. Why do you guys do technology? Is there a customer in the room? Shit, so what are we all vendors? All right, great. Okay, so anyway, so Podia Workspace. So 2 years ago at Bride Forum, I can't believe it's been 2 years. A big fail myself. I did that. So anyway, so we made a Podia Workspace for actually conducting a bake-off. Never released it like I said I was going to do. So I have it all packaged up. Apparently I didn't realize there was a release process through Podia. I was talking to Case about that, but I'm going to actually, at the end, we'll run through a quick demo and I'll ask for your emails and I'll add you to the space today so you can actually see everything, and I'm going to be publishing that. And then, it was obviously a chance for us to dig deeper into the bake-off methodology. So you might be wondering, like, why the hell are there two men up here with a mustache? So, why do we have a bake-off methodology? I was kind of Googling for a question mark, and then I came up with this guy, and that was like really cool. So it made me think of this guy, which is Christy Matthew. He's the CEO of OcuBlue guy. It was his mustache. I thought it was so why have a bake-off methodology? This is kind of the first tip from the field. It's important to have a methodology because if you don't have something to follow, step-by-step process, and you don't have that methodology, then your bake-off is doomed to fail because you don't have success criteria, you don't have business case, use case requirements down, you don't set end user expectations, management expectations. All those things aren't done because you're in there just if a geek is running the bake-off, we're in there just going crazy on the technology, and we're not really looking at it from a business perspective, right? So it's important to have that methodology. So over the years, we kind of added more stuff in there, and it's really 3 phases of the methodology that we created. So there's the pre-bake-off, which we're going to talk through that. In a second. I'll just talk through it now. So pre-bake-off basically is things like that you would typically do when you do like a POC, right? Determining business requirements, looking at success criteria. What are the costs for doing a POC for an actual bake-off? Because there are costs in some cases. Not every vendor is going to actually give you equipment and that kind of thing, or software licenses, or thin clients and things like that. We look at part of the pre-bake-off. We look at trial licenses. Setting expectations is huge. We had talked about that when Jared was up here talking about that with the end users, and baselining the environment. All that, picking your solution, all happens kind of in the pre-bake-off. And then the actual bake-off is interesting because that's where you're actually doing your actual bake-off. But we broke it down into a couple different areas, what we call discussion points, which are discussions that you have internal to your organization. And those discussion categories were basically administrative and operational aspects, and what was the other one? I can't remember. We'll go through in a second. But administrative and operational aspects, and those categories for those discussion points for things like image management, endpoints, application delivery models, peripheral devices, things that are important for you to talk about when you're actually looking to evaluate a solution like this. And those are some things are actually things that you'll forget about because you're only thinking about one specific feature. And then as part of the bake-off is test cases. Those are the actual things that you're going to test when you're doing the bake-off. So that's it's actually going to be a sheet or a Podio workspace if you decide to use this. It would be there's already an app set up where you would basically a test case would be like update the image in the VDI pool. Okay, so you're going to go through and do the same process in VMware View. You can do the same process in Citrix, and then you're going to actually rate it. It's so important as part of that pre-bake-off to create a rating system so you have something to measure against when you're in the bake-off and then when you do the post-bake-off debrief. All these, that's why it's so important to have that methodology, because if you don't, it's going to make no sense at the end when you go to management and you say, hey, I picked this solution. He's going to say, well, why'd you pick it? And then you don't have a reason, but now you have a whole process that you followed and documentation for all these different test cases. So
also too, as you're looking at these bake-offs, always take your business goals, your business objectives, and then map that to technology. Don't look for the technology and try to map that to what you're doing, because that's a big no-no, and I've seen a lot of bad situations when that has been done. So
it actually goes in kind of that. So then we broke this down. So we have I think we did 10 tips or something like that. So this is it's actually it's recorded on YouTube. It's a Briform session. There's actually 2 of them. So you can watch the whole thing where we went into really great detail. But we kind of summed it up to what are the most important tips. We had done a couple of 2 75-minute sessions. So this summed up. So first kind of tip from the field. This might seem like common sense, but you guys probably all know this because they're not all customers in the room. So we'll walk through this pretty quick. But from a customer perspective, they don't really look at this stuff. Determining use cases and business needs, matching features and functionalities. They never do this. They'll just pick a solution because it sounds cool. They don't actually map it to the features and functions that they require to actually conduct business. Whether it's a peripheral device, topaz, signature pad, whatever it is, those are the things that you need to consider, and that's going to help drive the solution. Because as part of this pre-bake-off, you have to pick which solution. Some of these solutions might not support a critical feature or function that you require. Something like I think I said, USB 3.0 support or multiple monitors, whatever it is. These things might not support it, so it's important to do those things up front.
Yeah, you guys that are consultants, how many times have you gotten a call for a project or some kind of POC where a C-level person has gone to a conference, come back and said, oh, this is cool, we have to have this, but there's no business use cases or anything behind it. So yes, we're talking about.
Oh, so yeah, we should actually
CIO magazine.
Ask for consult. They know they're going to relate to all this stuff because they're dealing with these customers all the time. Yeah. Right. So success criteria, we kind of, this is just, I think everyone knows what success criteria is. It's the customer that, we always educate the customer on what success criteria is. But, some of the things I always see is someone will, when we go into I don't know about you guys, but when we go into a customer environment, they'll just kind of say, I want quick login times. I want faster desktop provisioning. It's like, okay, what the hell does that mean? And I don't read your mind. You know, I don't speak like that to customers, by the way. I'm very, very nice to customers. But point being is you have to really break down. You have to speak to the customer and break down exactly, you know, if you want quicker login times. Okay, well, let's baseline it. What are your login times today? You know, what exactly do you define as a quick login time? So that's kind of same thing like, what's that?
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
That's pretty quick.
Man, yeah. What are you running there? Okay. So basically they'll define that, and then the idea is to map your success criteria around it. So that was kind of a quick tip there. And then another is kind of 3-in-1 here. So determining bake-off costs. Always make sure, like we said before, you know, you spend some time actually breaking down whatever costs might be associated. Things like paying a consultant, you know, because you instead of having, I mean, some people for POCs have the vendors come in and set it up, and that might be okay as long as they're working with you to at least have some kind of model or methodology for success criteria and that kind of stuff, and maybe it's okay. But if you pay an outside consultant, that's a cost that you need to account for. Do you need hardware? And we'll talk about hardware and software requirements and how you can possibly get some of that stuff from your vendors and get trials and that kind of thing to help you out. User management expectation is absolutely huge, and I guess Jared was up here talking about that before. Yep. It's user expectations. You know, that you're taking away. I can't stress this enough. Everyone in here knows this. You're all consultants. So, but you know, the end user is the end user is like the sole reason that, you know, we do these projects to make a nice experience for them. And if we take away their PC to give them a virtual desktop, and they have a shit experience, I mean that's not only is the project fails instantly, they go around all this negative feedback, all that stuff. So you know,
snowballing.
What's that? Yeah, it's a snowball effect. So you know, just set expectations with them. So that means sitting with them, watching their workflow, understand how they work, look at their actual baseline, their actual experience today. And then management expectations are letting your management know, and this I mean, you guys know all this stuff. Let me just skip over this because it's like, you know, management stuff. But anyways, and then test with real end users. And I guess Jared was saying the same thing there.
Yeah,
so
log on to more load testing tools than we use so far, but they're not going to replicate the real end user experience because users are random, very random what they do, and they're all always doing the same exact thing. So
there's no metric that can determine true end user experience other than getting it from the users.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so take ownership. So this dog's picking his own poop up, and the point of that really is take whether, and this applies to consultants too, you know, because you might be working multiple projects, but it's so important when you're doing a project to this is an amazing picture. I found that. But anyway,
the consultant should do the same stuff when he comes to the customer, like.
Oh, the dog?
How do you know it's his poop?
Yeah.
He could just be cleaning up the neighborhood poop.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a consultant that hired to.
Yeah. So take ownership and own the actual project. So from an internal perspective, you know, you want to define an actual team that's going to run the project and make sure you see this entire bake-off through. Don't start a bake-off with a customer and then go on to 3 or 4 other projects, and it's just going to tank. So. You know, slicing through the vendor FUD. I mean, we got a bunch of vendors in the room, so guys might not like this. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, it doesn't matter which organization, Citrix, VMware, Quest, Windows, I mean, whatever. You know, everyone has stuff that they're going to say from a competitive standpoint, and a lot of it can be true. It might be true. The point is just to test it internally. You know. So, anything else you want to add there? Just get through this stuff. So you know, you guys know most of the stuff, right? So I probably just skip through this. I didn't realize. I thought we might have some customers in here. I didn't realize it would all be consultants and vendors and whatnot. So, but as far as the dedicated hardware, we got in trouble for this from, I forgot who told us, from the 2012 session. Someone came up to us and said our customer called because we said, you know, lean on your vendors for hardware. And then they said the customer was calling the vendor saying, well, Jarian and Shane said you can get free hardware. So then they're telling us, like, why did you say it? And it's like, well, you know, it depends. I added that now, so I updated it. It depends. Because most of the cases, you know, things like iGel or Wise or some of these endpoints, you can actually get, you know, trial hardware, right?
Hey, by the way, for like, HP was doing it for a while, a couple more were doing it for a while. When it relates to grid boards, Dell is doing a 50% off one-time purchase of a box for pilot POCs.
No, that's awesome.
So,
Yes, there's always something going
I
on.
think they did this to fight against what you guys did.
Oh.
Because they were tired of getting
So
nasty.
keep doing that and they'll keep giving you more discounts.
Yeah,
So it's
maybe it was a
great,
good thing,
so
I guess.
It's
Yeah.
a huge discount for the customer one time.
But from my experience too, a lot of the time it's, you know, you can get the hardware. It's you know, if you land the vendor enough, they will give you the hardware, especially if they want to, you know, make the deal of that sale as well later on. They'll give you that 30-day, 60-day hardware.
Well, I mean, yeah, if it's like a 5-user POC, you're probably not going to get a piece of hardware.
Yeah.
I mean,
But the
that's
opportunity behind it's large enough, you know, they'll help you with the hardware, and that way you can do the POC in your environment.
Yeah, so you guys all know all this, you're consultants, right? The hardware, endpoints, all that sort of stuff, secure access, trial license, that's all, yeah. This is a cool picture again, but and we already talked about this, just about point of having the rating is really so you can have something to measure against at the end of the bake-off. So we talked through this as well, but just to kind of touch on it, because we're going to go into the podium demo in a second, probably in about 2 minutes. But basically, when we were talking about those discussion points before, it's administrative and operational aspects, the topics that you'd actually talk about. And we already have, we did this like 2 years ago, we updated it. We have like 180 of these discussion points that customers, you guys can use for customers to have within these meetings, but topics like, you know, image management, help desk operations, evaluating endpoints, security, compliance, remote access, mobility. We built like a bunch of discussion points that you can actually sit down with the customer and then document the answers to kind of help them drive towards a decision. And then the test cases, which we already talked about, we did, I think it was 120 or something, different test cases, things you can actually test out with the customer, and those are kind of always ever changing. So, yeah, I mean, we already talked to this. That's just an example of it. So, bake off, debrief, you know, kind of the tip there, and you guys, you know, like I said, probably already know this, but you know, just make sure you don't just do the bake off and you leave. You want to make sure you have a debrief meeting. So it's an internal meeting from a customer perspective internally. Make sure that you kind of review, you know, what happened in the actual bake-off, right? And then look at the ratings. So you have something, you already measured something, so kind of go over that, and then basically, you know, then go and talk to the vendors about, you know, your obviously decision that you made. So, I'm just gonna run through this really quick. Let me show this once, but this new crew here, and you guys all get access to this today. So. Anyone use Podio in here besides Alex?
I run it on Exam server with Password Manager.
Cool. So I think there might be 2 people out here that saw this years ago, but we updated it a little bit. So basically, yeah, I cleaned it all. Yeah, we cleaned it all up. So it's basically, I'm actually going to look at OctaBlue too, and see how OctaBlue can tie into here to actually pre-populate. Because when you deploy, the way it works with Podio is when you actually build a workspace, you can come into add app, and you can go to the app market, and you can actually add you know, pre-canned applications. So the goal, what I'm going to do is package up the a bake-off workspace, and just say get pack, and it's going to build this workspace out, but it's blank. There's nothing in there. So one of the things I was going to look at for seeing all this OctaBlue goodness is see if I could set up a workflow to basically take those discussion points that we have that are in CSV format and just pump them in. So when you deploy the actual Podio space, or when you deploy the app pack, it's going to be populated with examples that you could use. So that's kind of the idea there. So I'm going to walk through, I think, the ones that are the most important here. So these all map to to what you see in the framework. But basically, you know, contacts are people that you're going to be in contact with for the actual bake-off. So vendors, consultants, they all go in there. Solutions are going to be an area where you actually store the actual solutions that you're baking off. So for instance, yes.
Windows devices did.
Just saying. Here, use Podio.
Yeah. So let me go back here.
Resolution.
Yeah. All right. Just go back here. Yeah. So anyways, so solutions are basically going to store your actual solutions. Projects is your bake-off projects, and then we basically have the phases. So in our methodology, we have all these phases, which you can kind of see. Can you guys see this? Yep. So we have phases. So for instance, like the actual pre-bake-off. These are all the tasks that I was talking about. All right, this is
If you see it, they see it.
Tim Rettner.
yeah, that's what.
Oh, another portfolio specialist.
Did it, that's it, that one? Yep.
You can use HDMI as well.
Thank you so much. I was wrecking my head.
Alright guys. So these are the phases, and then the tasks here, we already built all these with information on what you would do in each one. With the customer, if you sort by sequence number, you can actually see things like in here. So you'll see things like determine business needs, the bake-off budget, bake-off lead, setting expectations, success criteria, end user, bake-off, all these different things are in here. And then we have an app for success criteria, so you'd put your success criteria in there. Whiteboards would basically be an app for different whiteboard, because whenever you're doing any kind of testing with any of these solutions, you're going to take pictures of the whiteboard that would go in here. And then I'm going to jump to features and functions. So this would be, as you talk through these things, you'd say, what are the features and functions that I need in the organization? An example might be link support, so I'll kind of walk through this. And your success criteria would actually tie to the feature and function, and you would determine your success your priority there. And then I guess the other two I'm going to show here is we have an area for customer references, because that's an important thing when you're doing a bake-off, to actually get some real-world customer references. So you have an area to put that, an area to put your licenses that you get during the bake-off. Applications is basically an app that was built to actually put information about the applications that you're going to be testing during the bake-off. So you can put the app name, the bit level, where the location of the bits are, access requirements, app status, security requirements, all these different things related to the application would go in there. And then the idea with Podio is it's a social collaboration platform. So everyone that's in the bake-off is all looking at all this as well. So you can kind of collaborate with your team.
Isn't there a SharePoint for that?
No.
No, that's not different.
Watch yourself.
And back to on the references, make sure when you're looking at references, we're in the same vertical, because reference from another vertical may not apply to what you're doing in your vertical. So.
Yeah. And the last thing to show here is these are those discussion points we were talking about. So we have 126, and these are all built by audience member. So these are discussions that you can have, like if you're in the help desk, you can kind of filter by help desk. Actually see conversations around monitoring, for instance. You can kind of click that, and this will actually, these are all of our topics that we were talking about that are pre-built. And here's do solution candidates provide functionality for alerting, for critical performance thresholds, et cetera, and then you can basically come in here and actually say, complete in progress, and then actually document here as notes about the discussion. So you can come in here and filter out, or just build your own when you're with the customer, and use this as a consultant, and actually store the notes for the meeting in here. So you have the whole bake-off in here. Yeah. All right. That's it. Jordan kicked me out of Podio. Here all day. Any questions?
PG will be too.
I thought this was comparing Zendesk with.
Yeah, no, that's what we're doing. Sorry, no, I was just showing we're doing the bake-off methodology first.
He's setting it up, setting the stage.
I'm sorry, I just have an allergy.
So, all right, so we're done with that. So, all right, so Zendesk versus. So we kind of set up the point of the bake-off and everything.
Why isn't Zendesk so big and use it?
Oh, that's weird how that happens.
Balanced.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
You know who sponsors this event?
Visitors, right? Yeah. So, go ahead. So, it's all right. So we looked at this from doing our own testing, and then from a customer perspective. So go ahead. So areas, because there's a short amount of time, we didn't look at all those different areas. We kind of just tried to shorten it as much as we could. I forgot to add these, but I'll talk about that anyway. So we looked at licensing, imaging methods, remote access, application provisioning, architecture components that are a part of each solution, operational, and then again the operational aspects now, because there's two sides of the coin, right? So monitoring in this solution, help desk functionality, and community. If that's a community event, we talk about what we think about the community on both sides. Unbiased, right? So anyway, so licensing is important. So licensing for View, we looked at so that there's standard advanced enterprise and workspace suite. VMware decided they came up with this brilliant idea to come up with this workspace suite solution. But no, Citrix obviously came up with it first. I wasn't gonna laugh from that, I guess not. it fell dead on the floor. So standard's the only one that's concurrent, and the rest are concurrent and named. And basically, it's their Enterprise Edition supports. They actually give you access to the vCenter Orchestrator, the operations, their vRealize Operations Suite, but specifically, they're more of a holistic monitoring approach. So they have they're looking at vSphere, your hypervisor, and they have a plugin for View. That's looking at your actual View environment. And we'll talk through a little bit about that later and what it can get. They have the vSAN is actually included as part of that. So their software-defined storage solution. They have what they traditionally had was VDI, right? They always had that, locally installed apps, obviously, because everyone has that. They recently added RDSH, so being able to do seamless applications. And then they had ThinApp for a long time through that, obviously the ThinSaw acquisition. And then this must be an old thing I put up there, but the Cloud Volumes acquisition. So actually, app layering was built in. We actually have a Cloud Volumes expert in the room here. So anyways, and then image management. What's that?
Medio.
Oh, Medio. Yeah, I forgot about that. So that's not there either. So as part of the Enterprise Suite, you'll get the Medio acquisition, which is their user environment management solution that it acquired for contextual awareness and some of the other profile management, some of the other things. And help fill a gap that they had from an RDSH standpoint for profile management and personalization. Image management on the physical desktops, so that's included as well through their Composer technology. Anything else you guys want to add there, or just jump to? I think pretty much everyone in the room knows what's included with Zen Desktop. Okay. So the only feature gap right now that we're kind of looking at, just again going off Platinum licensing, right? It's just the storage technology. Citrix, obviously, they have the solution, right? They have the Melio and everything that they're doing there, but it's not included as part of like the Platinum.
Yeah,
right?
It's a separate SKU.
It's a separate purchase.
They have the Platinum Edition and the VDI Edition, but it's not included in the core licensing package.
Yeah, so it's just an extra purchase. It's there, the technology is there, but it's not actually included like the vSAN technology. So we looked at a little bit about the VM composition technology, right? Imaging methods. So the VMware basically has the VM Composer. So that's kind of their take on link clones and image management. So we kind of looked at it and put together a couple little points there. It's not built in; it's a separate install, so it's not built directly into the solution. So you got to have a separate database, separate server to manage that. You could put that on your vCenter, but I wouldn't recommend that.
But it's an architecture design discussion you have to have is where you're going to put it to where within desktop and MCS is built into control and it's there. So it's an extra thing you have to consider as you're designing and setting up the solution for the customer.
And you cannot install that on the actual controller for VMware View. That's a big no-no.
Yep. Yeah, so it does, and today VM Composer doesn't work with RDS. RDSH works.
So today they have no image management like with Citrix. You can do MCS or PBS for an app. There's no really built-in product for RDSH on VMware, but maybe that's going to be covered when the whole Project Fargo, the VM forking stuff comes out, the just-in-time clones.
Yep. Yeah, and so they do have the ability to actually split out your read and write I/O, so you can actually you can split your image up on different data stores. So that's something that you're not able to do with MCS, but I don't see it as much of a negative because all this storage technology that everyone has and more stuff is going on solid state or software-defined storage. I don't think that the IOPS issue is as much of an issue as it was before, right?
No, I wouldn't say it is more of an issue, but it does put that on a single SSD where you can keep the other ones. So that is a differentiator, whereas like MCS copies the volume to each.
That's true.
Each volume.
Yep. So you can put the master replica on a single. Yeah, totally. That makes sense. And from an actual preparation standpoint, so there's two methods from a composer standpoint. They developed their own technology called Quick Prep. The only difference between that and obviously the Microsoft SysPrep is that Quick Prep. When we're digging into that, it doesn't actually change the machine SID, but it doesn't require from a SysPrep perspective. SysPrep is heavy on disk I/O. Every time it boots up, it's thrashing the disk, doing all the setup components and all those things. So you're going to save more on the disk I/O from.
They can also do full clone desktops.
Yep. Yeah.
That's a difference too.
Yep. Okay. And then so the VM fork. Anyone heard of VM fork?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Still trying to keep in the coverage for that. So.
Can you explain a couple words what it is?
Yeah. So from again, it's nothing's out, right? And from my understanding, I think some of the bits or underpinnings of it was put into vSphere 6.
Yep.
But from what I read and dug into, it hasn't been tested or anything. It's basically seen as like a just-in-time clone where it actually clones a running virtual machine, and then while it's online, it actually will then spit out new VMs, but those VMs will come up as if they were kind of in a suspended state. They're not actually going to do a full boot. And then it'll be a copy on write. So they're sharing the same RAM, they're sharing the same disk, and then it's basically a copy on write for new RAM pages and
So
disks.
it's heavily using the existing technologies that are used in vMotion. Because when you vMotion the VM, you actually clone the VM to another
That's a
host.
good point, yeah.
And VM fork is basically cloning the VM even on the same host, but it's cloning the VM.
On both.
And then special drivers take responsibility for changes that needs to be made with computer name and so on.
What's the expected release date?
I have no idea. I seen it working internally.
So the questions I have when I'm reading about it, I'm thinking about like
projects.
that parent VM. If something is that if something happens to that specific VM or that RAM gets corrupted, whatever happens to that parent VM, is it chains back to that original clone?
It's like a snapshot.
Okay.
So VM, the master VM is suspended. I mean, it's not released yet, and the way how it works right now, the master VM is suspended, and you can even it's fully suspended. I mean, you can turn off everything.
Oh, so you don't have to. Okay, so it's not like it's running and then if something happens to the RAM page,
Can you blow away the master VM as well?
I don't think.
I don't know.
Yes, you can, but I shouldn't be saying that because I spoke with a guy who told me that it can't be shut down, nothing will happen.
Is that because mainly it's doing a snapshot, then basically running that snapshot as making a VM out of that? Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
But there is no analog of this in Xensor, isn't it?
From a cloning technology? No, nothing like this. I mean, this is a game-changing technology from what it sounds like.
And this technology, VM fork in particular, is at the vSphere level, not necessarily. Fargo is the implementation with Vue that is going to be able to leverage VM fork to do that. So VM fork could do servers. It could do, theoretically, now we don't know yet, but Citrix could even support this technology.
Most likely this is something that would be, it's in the hypervisor. It's going to be something that would be allowed to be.
Now, will they expose the APIs for Citrix or the Workspace or any other products to do it? We'll have to see.
Yeah, we don't know.
Most likely it'd be like a year lag time or something. So you get it done start, but
Yep.
Is there a question?
Yeah. If it's running on the fly like that and they clone it, how are they handling like the AD?
So what I was reading is that it's a new technology that they're developing where it can join. It's going to handle the AD account joining and all that on the fly.
SIDs and all that stuff.
Everything.
And just like with MCS and PBS, how they handle it too, probably something similar we don't fully know yet.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a small personality disk, something like that. It could be attached, and this will take time.
We don't know the details yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going off a couple articles that we read.
Yeah, because it's still very early.
They didn't release any details or anything like that.
It's something later on that could improve what they have for image management today and also bring that image management to RDSH.
Okay. Yep. So Citrix, what does Citrix have from imaging technology? MCS, I think we're all familiar with that. So it's an integrated architecture, so it doesn't require for imaging specifically, it doesn't require a separate database. The database is built into, from a controller standpoint, when you actually stand that up, same technology. You're not able to split out the reads versus writes as far as from an image standpoint. So you are bound to whatever data store that you're on when you create that master image.
And as many data stores as you have in your environment set up for that configuration is going to make a magnifying copy to every data store. Yeah. So say for instance, inside of Studio, if you have 3 different data stores in VMware or 3 different storage repositories in XenServer, it's going to make a master copy on each of those storage locations.
For each VM image that you have to keep. So if you have 5 different image VMs for your environment, which you always want to minimize regardless of the imaging solution you want to use, that will copy. So if you have 5, it's going to be 5 copies on each one of those storage repositories, or the LUN on VMware.
So there's easy rollback capabilities. You can have, as long as you're keeping. You don't want to have too many snapshot chains, but as long as you have the last snapshot, you're able to roll back to the previous snapshot from if there are any kind of issues happen or anything like that.
Yeah, but the rollback does take the amount of time
it takes full. Yeah, and that's where we put workflow could be improved. It's the timing that it takes to roll back and whatnot. And then what would be really cool. I don't know. It's not it would be nice to have if when we talk about PBS. PBS has a new built-in ability to cache and RAM overflow to disk. if MCS was able to do that, I think that'd be a really game-changing technology for Citrix versus the competitors. So.
I'm starting to see a lot more and more customers go with MCS over PBS just because it's built in and the simplicity of it.
Well, I also see that a lot more too with the all-flash arrays that are coming in now, whereas PBS soaked up a lot of those reads and writes from that perspective with the write cache and things like that. But with the all-flash arrays that are becoming more ubiquitous, things like Atlantis, things like Nutanix that's out there, seeing a lot more MCS than they used to. Whereas PBS ruled the day at one time almost every time.
Yep. And do you have a question? Let's let your hand go up.
No, it was good point.
Write cache.
Yep.
Yep. So can anyone comment on that in the room?
Yeah. If anyone can comment on that.
No.
Nah, that's right.
What was the question?
MCS write cache feature like or RAM write cache feature like PBS has.
It doesn't really
Ryan is up.
Brad?
Yeah, it might not be something they're working on, but
we hope to see it sometime.
It might be under NDA. So
pause the camera.
So PBS is a separate architecture, as well, I think everyone in the room knows. So obviously N+1 means you're gonna have 2 of the PBS controllers, and you might have more than that depending on the size of the environment, of course. It's a network streaming, requires network streaming, so there's going to be, it's important when you're implementing it to be able to analyze the network and make sure it's sized correctly from that perspective. It's another console, another database, right, because it's a separate architecture. It does have the ability to do in-RAM write caching, meaning that basically what it does is, if no one's worked with this feature before, but basically all the writes go into like a write buffer, so all the writes are really cached in RAM. You can set up a RAM buffer. And then once it fills up the RAM buffer, it just kind of destages down a disk in a sequential. I think it's a 2 meg block.
Yeah, but you have to be careful with your sizing based upon that because it can actually crush your capabilities on performance. It's great as long as it works and as long as it's not failing over. If you're not sized correctly, you'll actually get way less IOPS than you would just running it on spinning disk even. So Jim Moyle has done a lot of work on exposing how to do that, and there's some stuff on how to measure it, but it's not integrated. That's another thing I'd like to see, is being able to monitor that write cache feature.
Yeah, there's ways you can pull it now through PowerShell and scripts and W9 if you're looking at Control can do it as well, so they have both of theirs.
We are going to integrate this in the next release.
Into the console?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I like to see this feature. I like to see more PBS in general just come to Citrix has built in for monitoring as well and Director.
Across the platform.
Go back. Yeah, across the platform. Another thing too with PBS versus MCS or link clones, PBS can do virtual or physical desktops, servers, etc. And that's a big point as well. And it's been known to scale really high also. So.
And just back to the viewpoint, they can't do physical desktops without doing Mirage or something like that. So it's a completely different mechanism. So.
That IO performance number, by the way, is the third. We tested 5 different solutions with Jim. It's the third. Just one. Because of how it literally queues and writes out the data.
Yeah. If you're running on an all-flash
when you
array,
fill
probably
your RAM, it just says wait, write, acknowledge, write.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be a third.
Okay, so from a remote access standpoint, VMware today, the solution is View Security Server. It's basically a Windows server that sits in the DMZ. You'd have 2 of those, and you obviously want to load balance those. They don't have a native, well actually I guess NSX, it's a separate built-in
gateway,
so built into the Enterprise Edition that we're looking at, there's nothing, but they have a...
It's an extra cost.
NSX also.
Netscaler is extra cost as well.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. So this, and that's what we have here basically, this is free. From a Citrix perspective, their secure gateway isn't there anymore, right? So
well, you can still use it. I have customers using it with Zen Desktop, but they're still using web interface. So to get into the storefront and the newer stuff.
I mean, this is a very bad product. I mean,
I think
one-to-one pairing.
One connection server, one security server.
Absolutely.
There could be some better sides. Now you can use F5 as a product, but then you need some functionality as well.
Absolutely.
To do it as also.
This will be changed, I guess. I mean, this looks really medieval. I mean,
but it's also very simple and easy to set up too. From
absolutely.
That perspective.
Well, VMware solution, they will buy F5, right? And that's it.
Integrated. I guess
they're buying everything.
They said that for a while, but I haven't made a move on that at all. So, you had negative experiences with security server?
No,
how do you, from a customer standpoint, as far as open up the additional port for PC over IP, right?
This is the first thing, and load balancing is also, I mean, messy. You need a external solution to load balance that.
But that same token, you have to open up firewall ports for, ICHDX as well, so.
Yeah, well, it would be 443.
well,
No,
additional
not from the outside, though. From the outside, it's just 443.
Yeah,
For this one, you're
443 to the gateway.
FTC, right,
Yeah.
correct, not from the outside.
This also requires
the
a
internal.
bunch of ports to come in the inside.
This
right?
obliges you to expose your Windows server to the internet,
Yep.
and that sucks.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
there's
Agreed.
not much
Agreed.
companies that will allow that.
Yeah. So a better solution is the Netscaler Gateway. Basically, we all know what a Netscaler Gateway is. So it's hard Linux appliance, and this is kind of the I guess you'd say like just a secure gateway replacement, right? But it's an additional cost. I mean, MSRP is like $9.99.
For virtual,
Yeah, for a VPF. So it's pure, it's unlimited ICA proxy, right? So yeah, I mean that's anything else with the Netscaler Gateway is all the other features. You're going to get smart access, all that stuff is additional cost. You need universal licenses for all that anyway. So if you want like pure, closest we can get to just what View Security Server is doing would be the Netscaler Gateway.
Yeah, but you also got to have the licensing associated with it, like you said. So, and depending upon your XenApps and desktop licenses, you might have the universal, or you might not.
Yeah, we didn't put a whole network architecture and discussion and all that sort of stuff, but I mean, all production deployments that we deploy, and I'm sure you guys deploy, all have Netscaler from a load balancing perspective, whether it's the VPX or the MPX or SPXs. So we didn't talk about.
I still have some secure gateway, and I think where Webster at.
He's back there.
He's back there.
And I think he can attest to that as well. Still some customers out there still chugging along with secure gateway.
Oh, yeah.
There is, and there's actually customers still running MetaFrame out there, so that's a
And we
different
still have
story.
ATMs running on XP.
Yeah.
It's true.
Hey, still people out there running multi-user OS too.
Oh, it's
Really?
Yes.
Seen that?
So
Amazing.
I'm going to refer that work to you, Webster.
Haven't seen that in 10 years.
All right, keep moving on. Focus.
So application, you can talk to application provisioning. Focus. Application provisioning. So from a VMware perspective, these are kind of the options you have from an application standpoint. So you have locally installed, which is obviously just you can install them locally. RDSH, so that's kind of like the competitive to direct. XenApp. So seamless there. App volumes was the acquisition, so that's actually a layering technology.
Dennis's team?
Yep. Yeah, Dennis. Yeah. So that's actually I did some testing with that in the lab. It's really nice. It's within under 20 minutes I had it set up, and we had a bunch of apps going and whatnot in a single app stack. Just stands up a VM like a provisioning VM. It attaches through the web console.
Stop doing this.
Yeah.
I will have a session tomorrow.
Oh, do you?
So tomorrow Dennis will enlighten you on app volumes.
Yes,
so
thank
I
you.
don't take his
Good.
thunder.
Okay, so Mirage, which was the Winova acquisition, does it's kind of layering down to the physical desk. I haven't worked with that product specifically. I don't know if you guys have, but
Yeah, Mirage, you can layer both the OS, the applications, and other pieces. You can even do in-place upgrades on an OS, with it. It's actually really good for Windows migrations of physical desktops. Is one of the big use cases I've seen for it. You can also manage it. You can push down other things like updates. It can also do backup for desktops, which is something that's been sorely lacking in the space. I mean, there's products that do it, but Mirage is pretty good, but it's also very cumbersome and extremely network intensive on the amount of data from a backup perspective and other things. Networking is always one of the biggest gotchas you get on that.
Yeah, the question I have, and I was trying to dig into it, is they have a Horizon Flex, and I don't know if anyone knows where that's going. So that's part of that workspace suite, and it seems like Horizon Flex is going to be, it sits on top of Mirage, and I believe that's probably...
It's more like
it
the
seems
Mac
like
player than it is anything else, where it's going to use basically a local VM down to the device. So it's more like the Mac player for desktop.
Yeah, it seems to me like it's a Zen client synchronizer with desktop player.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
And then we have ThinApp as well, which you can combine ThinApp and app volumes, and you can basically deliver the ThinApp package through app volumes. So that's
for things you need to isolate.
Yep, exactly.
Great. And then so for application provisioning for Citrix, we have regular apps that you can install, and then XenApp, which we all know from many years, and then new technology that was announced at Synergy called AppDisk, which is going to be. So I guess I should have put PVD up there as well, because that was originally another.
You knew that was coming. That's why that wasn't.
Hey now, Connor.
Oh man.
2.0, man. 2.0. PVD 2.0.
Yeah. So this is 2.0. Not much announced on it, so I can't really go into it. But it's going to be their Citrix's layering technology, basically.
Yeah, one of the things I like about what I saw from Aptos so far is the app DNA integration.
Yep.
Probably the key differentiator.
Yeah. I'm curious how that's all going to work yet, so I want to see that.
It brings intelligence into the
exactly.
Yeah. So what does the architecture look like from a VMware Horizon? Again, this is the enterprise license. So there's things that are added when you go into the Workspace suite. They have a solution called Workspace Portal, which is similar to like a storefront technology, right? But now without that technology, that's an additional cost. With the enterprise, you use the connection server. Basically has a similar to like a web interface. I would say that's how it's like your web portal.
But their Workspace portal is very different from storefront. It does like SaaS applications,
and also you can bring
single sign-on.
applications too.
Absolutely.
You can publish in-app applications from Workspace portal. It's more of an enterprise portal for all of your applications versus just your Citrix infrastructure.
Okay, yeah. Well, I guess
The only problem with the portal
in.
is the database support.
Well, yeah, but they're getting the SaaS apps that are
Yeah,
coming from AirWatch probably, right? Because that's similar like with storefront with App Controller, we have SaaS apps. So that's probably how they're getting that too. So once you get into the Workspace suite, you're bringing in the SaaS-based application. Because we didn't go into the Workspace suite; this just wasn't enough time. But Workspace suite for Citrix brings in Zen Mobile, brings in ShareFile, and then it compares to the same thing on the VMware side. So.
You're saying that's your
the SaaS applications publishing. It's like a separate component that recently was announced that it would be like a standalone product, and it, identity management. So basically, SaaS publishing. It's not just publishing the shortcut, but integrating the SAML authentication and the other types of authentication.
Yeah, so the way I look at that is like formally like the password manager and single sign-on. It's almost like a combination of those.
Yeah,
in some way.
Like the OPA gateway.
Cloud gateway on the early stages.
We're going off script.
Do you have something?
Netscaler Gateway can do SAML too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So architecture, the connection server from Vue, they have a connection server. It's kind of seemed like I guess like a delivery controller to compare them, right?
Yep.
Security server, which we talked about. vCenter, and I guess obviously Vue is vSphere only. So if you have vCenter, App Volumes has a server that requires, and you can do load balancing across those as well. Oh, I didn't say that. And then ThinApp. So the ThinApp isn't really it doesn't have really a server requirement. It's more it can go on your file server, right? Because it streams, right? So it's just packages, but we put it up there.
It's packages, and most of them are usually like there's no agent required.
Yeah,
for ThinApp.
exactly.
Yeah, it's just runs off.
Running as exe.
Yep.
Yeah. So vSphere, obviously, from a hypervisor perspective, Vue agent.
So how do you guys manage ThinApp today?
So vSphere from ThinApp is managed through the
change management and all those things. Like who's the admin from ThinApp and who like?
It depends.
100
Yeah.
I haven't done ThinApp since it was ThinStall, so I don't.
It depends on the company. Sometimes if it's going to be the app and desktop people, sometimes it might be a separate department.
What's the admin?
Yeah, but if I remember, there isn't. You just repackage.
There's no centralized administration of it.
So everybody is super admin then?
So you can do, when you package it, you can do things on the actual package, whether from like a central console piece or...
No, you could push
so in the Vue console, you can give who has access to that individual package and put it inside of the application. Otherwise, it's a standalone.
You can change the package.
So who can change it?
Are you talking about revisioning, right? So if Office has a service pack update or something like that, the packaging person would have to do it. It's not designed. I mean, unless it's changed, I don't think they've done much like crazy changes. But since you'd repackage it and it would detect that there was a change.
It's not like FD has a management.
No, not at all.
No, you just have a desktop that you have set aside with the pieces to package it, and whoever has access to package it would have access to that system, that clean, pristine VM that you need to maintain and manage.
Yep.
And App Volumes since version 2.6 have a special template for Synapse packages.
Yeah.
So you can use App Volumes as delivery mechanism for your packages. Basically, you install it. There's a white paper. Oh, say again.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I haven't been keeping. We're almost. Shit. I didn't realize I was losing track of time here. All right, so basically, vRealize Operations Manager, which is the operations side of the house. So VMware does a good job. They package everything up into like prepackaged appliances. So vRealize, you can deploy that as an appliance. Obviously, there's some scale things there, but basically, so it's for POC purposes, you can deploy it as an appliance. Mirage has servers, and they introduced a new. I dug a little bit of, did a little bit of digging into the cloud part architecture that they have, but there's some limitations there. It's just there's no RDS, no HTML5 support there for the cloud part architecture. So. Yeah, so basically Zen Desktop architecture. I think does everyone know Zen Desktop in the room? Yeah. All right, thanks. Boom, look at that.
Yeah, so you know there.
I would just add here. What's that?
Zendesk. Yeah, the help desk software. I know that one.
Zendesk. Yeah, so I would just to touch on it from a Citrix standpoint. Obviously, Citrix is agnostic from a hypervisor and management plane. It doesn't do KVM today. Hopefully that happens one day. Delivery controllers. I'd say the only other piece here from a monitoring perspective is Director.
Yep.
What's separate is kind of the web console piece, but it's actually integrated into the database. What you would want to say production deployment, you'd split out the database, so it does have a database requirement. It doesn't have a multiple like with vRealize where you had to have the operations manager, broker, and the different pieces there. The VDA has the integration points from a monitoring standpoint, so it's more simple.
You could also add HDX Insight in.
Yep.
Exactly.
I forgot to put that up there. Yeah. Yep. So HDX Insight for sure, and the gateway functionality. So monitoring for View. So dove into this a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I need a tour from someone on the vRealize team. I personally wasn't too impressed with the usability of the platform, and also it was just like reminded me of like a SCOM console. I mean, it's just like it's just bloated.
It's huge.
It's huge, slow. But from a data standpoint, it got some nice metrics because it's their product, right? So it got some really nice metrics from a holistic standpoint on the hypervisor. It proactive monitoring, management, that kind of stuff is all built in.
But in reality, though, it's more better on the infrastructure side than on the user experience side.
And to be honest, they know that from on the Horizon side because I've had talks with them. I mean, this isn't anything NDA, but the next version, they're making a lot of changes to the view. From a usability standpoint, so things are coming.
Yeah, they just announced that they're going to release a vRealize pack for Zen app.
Which
is it's very
so bottom line here, we really need to do a deep dive into this because Jory and I have done some deep dive with some other monitoring products in the past, but with some of the additional stuff that they're doing, we want to dig into it. In-guest metrics, I wasn't too impressed with it, like the sampling that it did. It was slow. It was just the way the console was laid out, and the logon duration didn't seem right to me. So those are some of the things there that I see as far as a architecture. There's a broker that basically needs to be installed. The agent itself that goes inside of it's not included packaged with the View agent. It's a separate install. And then the operations manager. It's basically a snap-in for operations manager. So if you're already a VC op shop, I mean, it just snaps right in. So.
But again, it's more from an infrastructure standpoint than more from an end-user experience.
Yeah. So Director. I think everyone works with Director here. It's more integrated. Director itself is definitely it's getting better, but it's missing some things from I would say a proactive alerting, reporting functionality.
That's what I was going to say. Is that they take more of an infrastructure view at VMware, whereas
Director takes more of an end-user focused view.
And a help desk view.
So I have a help desk functionality, VMware question mark, right? Nothing. It's not designed right now.
And in fact, they have no shadowing component built into their software at all.
There's a problem with the Insight integration, right? Meaning that you need to have a platinum license, I think, to get some useful data.
So on the HDX Insight piece, you're going to need Enterprise or Platinum Netscaler, and then you're going to need if you want to integrate it into the console, you'll need Platinum Zen, but you can also get the data from a cloud bridge as well, into Insight. So.
And that's a problem because tons of shops will never buy Enterprise or Platinum just from NetApp, right? And so I think this thing should be there natively.
Well, that's why you have to look at the other features too, and also the HDX Insight. Even if you buy Enterprise, you only get 1 hour of data on that as well.
Yeah, I think it's up to 7 days.
I thought it was 7 days.
Up to 7 days.
Yeah, that's 1 hour.
1 hour?
HDX Insight data for Enterprise is 1 hour. Everything else is 7 days.
Right. Yeah, so help desk functionally for VMware shadowing, it's not there, right? So things like control up are out there. We can remote assistance built into the console. Can handle you with that there. And then Zen Desktop obviously has remote assistance built into the console. That's it. Well, we were going to kind of ask about a couple questions, but I think what's the time here? a minute or two?
Yeah.
All right. So what do you guys think like the bake-off methodology? You think that's Mickey Mouse? You think it's important to have that? Yes.
Get the thumbs up behind us.
You need a red and green card?
Yeah, red and green card.
Thumbs up. We need to vote. Wait, that didn't work so well.
Yeah, red and green cards.
That's cool there. And then what's like so?
Rachel, follow.
Yes.
What's your impression? Which is easier to set up a successful POC? VMware or Citrix?
Let's go around the table on that one.
So it depends.
It's off camera.
It really depends.
What qualifies as a POC, I think, is the best question.
Yeah, it's how many are we talking? Yeah, how many apps is the vGPU stuff installed? You know, there's all these things that. And like a general office,
clones, or can you use full clones with the customization specification? I mean, there's a lot of different variations.
Okay, so if I'm doing
HDX, I get a lot of complaints. People say your product isn't simpler.
Well, the policy engine is what gets confused. For me, from a Citrix perspective, if I'm an end user, there's way too many. So we didn't talk about policies. VMware is very simplified with the policies. That's a good and that's a bad, right? Citrix has a lot more tuning capabilities, right? But to me, it just needs to be simplified, and I think that's
But and that's also saying too, that's where those templates come in handy.
Yep, and that's true.
But if you need those policies, you need them. So that's one of the things which determine the requirements. Assuming like for like, just out of the box POC installs with like MCS versus, and I'm not even talking PBS, MCS versus link clones, which somewhat similar in how they operate. They can be roughly stood up with the out of the box POC experience in about the same time. The actual install can actually run faster on Citrix, but both of them from that perspective, depending on your requirements and what you want to test, is going to vary.
But say from like a number of server standpoint, if you're just testing, say, published applications, Citrix would be simpler because you can do a lot in a single server.
And XenApp is leaps and bounds where the RDS piece is.
They have no image management like we mentioned or profile management inside their solution for RDS.
Where are you in the bake-off methodology? And when do you expect to get to the post-bake-off?
What do you mean, like post-bake-off?
What's your next step?
If this was the readout on your bake-off?
Oh, so I guess we didn't set good expectations in the so this we didn't like bake this off like we were a customer or anything like that. So, but we had. I mean,
you're talking about the process of how
the process. Like if we were to take this process that we have like and publish it, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I thought you guys were doing it and you were sharing it. Here's how we did it.
They're not doing that because that's on a customer by customer basis based upon the requirements of that particular bake-off. That's why it's more of a methodology than it is the results, because every single bake-off you get is going to get different results.
Exactly.
And that's going to be misleading if they were to publish
VMware
versus Citrix and then say, oh, VMware's better. I mean, that's what the vendors do from getting the other ones to test it. But
for me, that's what we were talking about a couple of years back, was just a methodology is a better approach, and the idea, hopefully, we're still actively working on getting it to a point where we can actually just publish it, right? And then you can take that. The idea would be that you could, as a customer, if you're in healthcare, you can go and grab discussion points from a healthcare, or you're in education, you have discussion points and test cases from healthcare.
And that applies to your vertical.
And maybe there's an engine down the road where the end customer can hit share and they just anonymously publish their bake-off results. And you have real customer data.
I think as an independent guy, as a consultant, I think the best resources that are out there are the GRC stuff with the SmackDowns. And the SmackDowns that are out there are probably the most complete in terms of the criteria that they evaluate. This is kind of a methodology, and I've done a number of customer bake-offs in their environment with their requirements, and this is spot on for that type of engagement.
And the one thing about the SmackOffs is they're not using the end user requirements for your organization.
Exactly. They're more generic.
They're
more generic across the board, like who has this feature versus this feature.
And that's
it becomes a tick box conversation at that point. So you got to be careful with which hands those end up in the organization, depending on their slant.
I personally, I love for like a methodology like this to be seen as like when a customer does a bake-off, they are required to take something like this, and they're not going to look at checkboxes on either side. Then it doesn't become a checkbox battle anymore. It becomes like what's right for the customer.
Or a shiny feature battle.
I haven't been involved with this with these guys other than a few conversations, but it's putting the customer before the technology.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my view on it from the outside in.
Yeah, so if you're interested, we're going to close out. So if you're interested in I'll add you to the Podio space. You can kind of play around, test out the apps, and then I'll publish it. So let me know if you're interested, and I'll add you to it. So.
Can you just do it outside of Podio, please? Because there will be thousands of people watching this session, and then they'll say Podio, your session, no Podio.
But you can't get to the site unless you know the link.
Podio link?
Know the link and have credentials,
Well,
right?
basically, can you tell it to the viewers?
No, for other people that are outside of the, for
Anybody
online
who's not
folks.
already in
Hello?
Podio.
To the interwebs.
You can, well, I'll tell you, by the time this video is published, let's take you about a week or so. I'm gonna have this done like this. I just it needs to be submitted to Podio, which they have like a review process. So by the time this is published, if you go to the Podio App Store, as long as it's approved, there will be a bake-off app there. So, if not, come find me on Twitter @ShaneKleiner, and I'll give you access to this one.
What kind of stuff?